Rahul, and good evening to all my esteemed panelists. Tanveer Bhai is a very dear friend, and I hope he won't interrupt me or mind my saying this, that if tomorrow he goes to a neurosurgeon for his brain surgery, is he going to tell the neurosurgeon कि डॉक्टर साहब यहाँ से नहीं यहाँ कट मारना, क्योंकि मुझे पता है. I am astonished when he says that he is telling you that Rahul, an able defense force officer, becomes able only after 7 to 8 years. So he means to say that our three chiefs of the armed forces do not know, but Tanveer knows कि भाई 8 साल में ही बढ़िया ऑफिसर बनता है, आर्मी या नेवी या एयरफोर्स का 4 साल में नहीं बनता है. But and the other thing, Rahul, the other day I gave you 7 reasons why I support Agniveer, and they're all logical and rational reasons. But one thing that people have to keep in mind, A, is what General Rawat said. This is not a Manrega employment guarantee scheme, and B, the armed forces are well within their rights, as is every organization, to have a 2-step or a 3-step or a 4-step selection process. They want the best of the best. If 100 people have been inducted, the defense forces are within their rights to say that, look, out of these 100, we have trained them for 4 years, and now the time has come for the second rung in the selection process. We want only 25 who are the best of the best amongst these hundreds. And the 75, there are ample opportunities for them. They have earned money, they have earned respect. They're only 21 to 22. They are going to be absorbed in a lot of other ancillary forces. But can I please come back to the topic, because I don't want to, my time to be eaten away in rebutting inanities. Rahul, the fact of the matter is that in trying to usher in any new reform, the Modi government is literally now having to walk on Agnipath. ये रिफॉर्म नहीं आसान, इतना तो समझ लीजिए, ये आग का दरिया है और डूब के जाना है, और डूब रहे हैं हम. But this is to be expected. Remember, when the opposition can orchestrate absolute mayhem and outrage over the farm reforms that they had promised in their own manifestos, what chance do those reforms have that aren't in their manifestos? It is very unfortunate that the excellent Agniveer scheme is being mocked by the Congress by uttering inanities like, if you wish to train as a barber or a washerman, then become an Agniveer. Has to be said though, that the situation is not being helped in any measure by the BJP ministers who are falling over each other, offering positions of security guards in BJP offices to the Agniveers who aren't inducted into the armed forces after 4 years. What is the BJP doing? Why can't it exclusively let the armed forces speak on Agniveer, bhai? I think this is a case study in the way any policy or scheme has to be handled, messaged and conveyed to the people it is intended for. The problem is, we live in a world where our politicians and their parties are over-eager to claim credit for even the smallest contributions, from opening tunnels to swimming pools to arterial roads to canteens. And this is what has resulted in Agniveer's disastrous miscommunication, wherein the government has now added more points than there were in the original Agniveer. You wanted credit, now be prepared to face criticism. Let me very briefly, Rahul, explain by way of an example of classic statecraft. You remember this. In the build-up to the 2003 Iraq war, when the US was arm-twisting India to join in, yes, the then PM Vajpayee called up his communist friend Gurudas Das Gupta and asked his opinion. Gurudas obviously protested, to which Vajpayee said, well, where are your protests? I don't see them. And then he smiled. Gurudas understood and smiled as well. The very next day, the communists erupted in street protests, warning ABV to not join the US war effort. And at the same night, ABV told Bush, I'm sorry, I'm helpless in the wake of massive street protests. Coming back to Agniveer, I dare say, none of this mocking and violent protests would have happened had the government simply allowed the army to not take the entire credit for the scheme, but also exclusively announce it, launch it, answer all the queries regarding it from start to finish. Rahul, just 30 seconds. The armed forces are the most hallowed and respected institution in this country. By and large, politicians stay away from confronting them. Had the government not been overeager to take credit for the scheme, it would have appeared as a helper, even an initiator, and someone who prodded the armed forces to bring in this much needed reform. But they wanted credit, and as a result are now facing criticism. One just hopes, and this is what I fear, they won't be forced to roll back this scheme like they had to the farm laws.
You know, I don't care if the government faces criticism. It's no skin on my back or yours, Dr. Ranganathan. What I care about is when the army itself is mocked and ridiculed, whether it is by BJP leaders or by JDS or Congress or TMC leaders. It's not acceptable. Colonel RSN is sitting here and he must wonder. He must wonder what has come of us or come over us. I want to read out from the Army's own website. Lokesh Jindal, please listen. This is not Heidegger. This is the Army's own website. Please listen now, very carefully. It is philosophical. It is important. The values of the Army infused in the soldier through years of training are enumerated below. So what the website says. Esprit de corps, the spirit of comradeship and brotherhood of the brave, regardless of caste, creed or religion. The motto is one for all and all for one. Non-discrimination. The Indian Army does not discriminate on account of a caste, creed or religion. A soldier is a soldier first and anything else later. He'll always be a soldier first, sir. He will not be an RSS person. He will not be Nazi. He will not be a Maoist. He will not be denominational. He will be a soldier first. He prays under a common roof. It is this unique character which makes him bind in a team despite such diversity. This is the value system you get, Lokesh Jindal. Not what you learn in political parties where ideologies are traded like you trade your underwear. Sorry to say, your undergarments. One day you're with one party, the other you're with another, whether it's BJP or Congress or JDU or whatever it is, PJD or God alone knows what. It doesn't matter. So I want to ask you, sir, Mr. Jindal, when Malika Arjun Kharge says, do they want to prepare 40,000 youth and bring them to the RSS? Do you think these youth that have studied this motto, which will be drilled into their heads, do you think they will trade being a soldier to become some RSS Shakha Pramukh?